Allah claims the Meccans deserved their fate because they delayed Muhammad from stealing what he coveted, a founder's share of the Kaaba ink.
Quran 48:25. They are the ones who denied
Quran
revelation and hindered you from the sacred mosque,
Allah's house. The verse goes on to explain that the reason for not trouncing the Meccans right then and there was that some believers were hiding in their huts, and Allah didn't want to hurt them.
Had there not been believing men and women whom you did not know that you would have trampled down on, and on whose account a crime would have accrued to you without knowledge, Allah would have allowed you to force your way. If they had not been there, we would have punished the unbelievers with a grievous torture.
The moral of the story is, it's good to trample down infidels, so long as you're careful not to injure Muslims in the process. Muhammad's militants had worked themselves into a lather over not being able to fight the Meccan merchants and thus take a spoil. But since that wasn't religious, Allah claimed,
Quran 48:26, while the unbelievers got up in heat and insincerity or false piety, the zealotry of the age of ignorance, Allah sent down His Shekinah to the messenger and to the believers, and made them stick close to the command of self-restraint.
The Islamic terrorists were certain that they were going to conquer Mecca because Muhammad had told them that he had envisioned it in his dreams.
Quran 48:27, truly did Allah fulfill the vision for His messenger. You shall enter the sacred mosque, if Allah wills, with mind secure, head shaved, hair cut short, and without fear, for He knew what you knew not, and He granted beside this a speedy victory.
This would have been prophecy, had it actually been written prior to the attack on Mecca, not a dozen years later, and if the surah didn't contain post-occupation passages. Then, sharing the devil's agenda, we read in Surah 48, verse 28,
It is He who has sent His messenger with the guidance and the religion of truth, or Islam, that He may make it superior to every other religion, exalting it over them.
While Muhammad was wrong, he saw Judeo-Christianity as a competitive religion, and his had to be better, to be
exalted over every other religion.
This mirrors the true meaning of Allahu Akbar. But how can that be, if Islam is supposed to be a confirmation of the Torah and Gospels, as Allah has so often claimed? Or is this really the serpent's way of competing with Yahweh? The verse continues to protest,
Allah is a sufficient witness. Muhammad is the prophet of Allah. Those who are with him are severe with infidel unbelievers, merciful amongst themselves. You will see them bow and prostrate themselves, seeking Allah's acceptance. On their foreheads are marks, the traces of their prostration.
Rub their faces in it, will you? It's so Muhammad to gloat about how he damned so many, forcing them to bow to the devil. And while that's unforgivable, how can a religion that claims its hallmark is tolerance say,
be severe with unbelievers?
And I'm afraid there is something far more sinister lurking here. Satan removed his veil when he said that his mark would be on their foreheads, and that his followers would be known by their prostrations. Speaking of how Satan will use Islam in the last days, John wrote this in the 13th chapter of Revelation. I saw another, he used the Greek word therion, poisonous and destructive beast, coming up out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, that making him a violent counterfeit of the Messiah. And he spoke as a serpent, a devil or demon. He exercised power and caused mankind to prostrate, kissing like a dog, themselves to the first poisonous beast, as protos, which in Greek means the greatest or greater, as in Allahu Akbar, those whose death stroke was adored, perhaps like jihad killers are adored martyrs in Islam. He makes fire come from the sky in the presence of men, and he, plano in Greek, deceives, leading astray, seducing mankind by the means of the signs which he had power to do, in this case control weather, saying to the people that they should build a statue to him, showing that he had survived the stroke of the sword. The poisonous and destructive beast made the idol come to life, and it said that whoever did not prostrate themselves to the image of the beast should be slain. And he requires all, small and great, rich and poor. Then the Greek word is eleutheros, which means exempt from obligation, i.e. non-Muslims, and doulos, those who are submissive, i.e. Muslims, as Islam means submission, to receive a scratch or etching, a mark of servitude, on their right hand, something that is specifically addressed in Koran 56:8, or on their forehead, addressed in Koran 48:28. No man may buy or sell except those who have the scratch or mark of servitude of the authority or character of the poisonous and destructive beast, or the number of his authority. Let him with understanding calculate the number or reckoning of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666. Rather than invent a new dogma to oppress mankind, the Antichrist and his false prophet will use Islam. While the last Quran verse spoke of the
marks on their foreheads, the traces of their prostration,
Muslims were also known by their right hand.
Bukhari, Allah's apostle said, all who are called to account on the day of doom will be ruined. Aisha said, O Allah's apostle, hasn't Allah said, for him who will be given his record in his right hand, he shall surely receive an easy reckoning?
This became Quran 84:7.
The apostle said, that verse means only the presentation of accounts, but anybody whose account is questioned will be punished.
A reckoning is an accounting, so Aisha was right. Muhammad had contradicted Allah and confirmed John's prophecy. Ever desirous of being adopted as a real prophet, our counterfeit proclaimer ended the 28th verse of the 48th Surah by errantly suggesting that the marks and prostrations are godly identifiers in the Bible.
This likeness is in the Torah,
or Torah,
and their similitude in the Injil,
or Gospel. Yes, the Scripture alludes to prostrations and marks, but they are satanic references, not godly. Just as the Messiah's love your enemy is the antithesis of
be severe with unbelievers.
And the distinction is important. Since the Gospels say one thing and the Quran says another, they couldn't have been inspired by the same Spirit. Loving and afflicting are opposite paths. They cannot both lead to paradise. One path leads in an entirely different direction. The 47th Surah is as warped as the man it was named after.
Muhammad.
Surah 47, verse 1 reads,
Those who disbelieve and hinder men from Allah's path, He renders their action vain and ineffective. But those who believe and work good deeds and believe in what is revealed to Muhammad, for it is the truth from their Lord, He will remove from their ills and improve their condition.
I like to put that to the test, to see if Muhammad is telling the truth for a change. If what he said is accurate, you'd expect Christian and Jewish nations to be impoverished and Muslim nations to be flourishing. How is it then that the productivity per capita in Islamic nations is the lowest in the world? Why doesn't any Muslim country produce a single manufactured product of sufficient quality to sell on world markets? Why doesn't Islam have a single world-class university or boast of a great achievement in literature or in the sciences? Why are freedoms and human rights trampled among the people who have faith in what was revealed to Muhammad? Why are women and minorities abused in such nations if Allah has
improved their condition?
Why isn't there a single Muslim state that succeeds as a democracy? Why hasn't there ever been one? Why is the inverse true in Christian and Jewish countries? Why is the disparity so large, so universal, and so unflattering between Islam and other creeds? And why did Muhammad's Muslims have to live like parasites, plundering their way to infamy, if Allah could improve their condition? You don't suppose that Islam could be at fault because Muhammad was lying, do you? No.